Welcome to the Garden Report. We are here in the queue. I'm Jared Weiss. I'm joined by the legend, Coach Nick of B-Ball Breakdown. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
My pleasure.
So, we just saw an amazing game. A game where we were losing our minds at the end because we were just waiting for LeBron to take over. And it never happened. It was Marcus Smart took over, I guess. So the Celtics win 111 to 108. Avery Bradley hits what is essentially a buzzer-beating three going down at 0.1. Right from the spot where we're standing right here on the court. So let's look at those last few plays. Those ATOs that Brad Stevens is legendary for, that LeBron James was drooling over, starting with that Jonas Jerebko. I guess it was a 2 technically.
Yeah, no, he got his foot in the line, but it was a nice hop shot, which was really exciting for me because the pass is a little bit to his right, so he had to hop over to get it. The thing, though, that started it all was Marcus Smart basically like tackling Avery Bradley's man. It was weird, and I think that there was a screw up there. I don't think that Smart was supposed to cut across the court there, but anyway, it opened up a whole sea, and another bad rotation by the Cavaliers. 4 guys surround Bradley. He had his choice. He had Crowder in the right corner, he had Jerebko on the left, and he had his own shot. So it was a well-designed play that, good balance, and they got a good shot.
And Avery said after the game that the play was actually designed for him to get a layup. And I asked him about that pass, and he said that he knew LeBron was going to crash down on him.
Right.
And I think that was part of the issue with Cleveland was everybody else is crashing down, and then LeBron, in addition, wants to crash down. So they had 4 guys in the paint with 1 guy behind Bradley. So the Cavs literally collapsed onto 1 guy in the paint, and they had all those options. Usually Bradley isn't necessarily adept at making that play, but he's good enough to make it. And this was a night where everybody stepped up with Thomas out, and everybody was making those kind of plays.
Yeah, it was very exciting because, they were down by so much, and we were pretty much sitting there going to say, this is over. There's no way they're coming back in the queue. And yet it was like we kept laughing to ourselves because, the Smart went off, and then Jerebko was playing well, and he's getting in people's faces. And so it was just one of those wonderful underdog moments that you get, rarely in the playoffs, but this is when they did it, and it was great to see.
And according to Vegas, this was the biggest upset in a conference finals game ever.
Really?
I didn't know that. I'm not sure how far back that goes, but ESPN had that. It was a 16.5 line.
Wow.
And Al Horford said that everybody counted them out, and they bounced back. They really bounced back. But it was a bounce on the final shot of the game.
Oh, yeah.
That really did it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this one was going to overtime, so it wasn't like literally the entire game was hanging on it, but that ball was a great example of shooting mechanics, and you're someone that's an expert on shooting mechanics. We saw that the way that the backspin can really benefit a shooter there, where there was so much backspin on the ball that a ball that easily could have bounced pretty hard off the rim or fallen to the right off the rim somehow stayed over the cylinder.
Oh, yeah. It hung on there and it gripped. And also, it wasn't too high. Like, it had a perfect arc, 45 degrees or so. And that's what lets it sit on the rim and just bounce. I think it hit the backboard a little bit and then rolled back in. And from that angle is why it's key. If he was shooting from the corner, you don't get that kind of a roll. And it went right in. And also, again, we must give kudos to Brad Stevens because this out-of-bounds play was ran to perfection. And the timing of it was really crucial, right? Because if you go too early, then maybe they get a chance to get another shot, to win it or something, or to tie it. And if you go too late, then you don't get the shot off. So a really great design play. And I'm thinking that J.R. Smith is going to get beaten up tonight by the Cavaliers because he screwed up the switch. If they wanted to switch everything, they had 2 guys going to Crowder, curl into the basket. By the way, Crowder was open too. Yep. And although a tougher shot turning, but he was open in the lane. And so Stevens created something that was, going to get them a great shot no matter what.
See, this is how you know he's a coach, because that's exactly what Stevens talked about in this presser, which you didn't even see, was talking about the timing of executing that off-ball action. Was they wanted to get going at 6 seconds because they didn't want the Cavs to have time on the clock. But also Stevens was praying for the ball to stay up over the rim and bounce around for a few extra seconds, because that ball bouncing around was literally the difference between the Cavs having 2.5 seconds probably to get a playoff versus nothing at all.
Right, which, the basketball gods shone down on them for that one because you can never control that. But either way, it still would have been tough for the Cavs to try and do something down 2 at half court with, probably under 2 seconds. But again, that's how you get rewarded when you run and execute a play like that. And I love that kind of play where they curled. It was a double down screen for Crowder. He curls early, and then that second screener is there to screen for Bradley. LeBron doesn't jump out, or I'm sorry, Tristan Thompson doesn't jump out. He sees it and is way late, and just a nicely designed play. And that's what makes a coach feel great, when you can run a play and it comes right out the way you want it and they get the shot.
And when Horford's able to get a little grabby on that pin down screen, but that's the playoffs, right?
A little grabby, but yeah, certainly they're not calling that unless the guy's bleeding.
Well, I mean, he might have been bleeding. J.R. Smith is a bloody guy. We all know that.
That is right. Well, we'll have to check him out later.
Okay, we'll come back in part 2, and we'll talk about what Marcus Smart did in his career performance. Before we go, if you want to hire someone, the best way to do it is using ZipRecruiter. If you go to ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan for this guy right here, you're going to be able to sign up for ZipRecruiter for free and post your job to hundreds of job boards across the internet. So go to ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. We'll be right back on the Garden Report postgame show on CLNS Media Network and Celtics Blog. And great.
Okay.
All right, we'll just do one more. Nice quick. Talking about Marcus.